Welcome to a special edition episode of the Scarf Bagara War with me, Russ Johnson, and delighted to be joined by none other than Kenny Boxshall. Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you very much, Russ. Thank you for asking me.
No, it's the pleasure is all ours. Honestly, it's been trying to be getting you on for a long time. Just didn't know have the connections, but like you say,
all right.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's it
definitely.
So we'll get cracking. I've got loads of stuff to talk to you about. So I can't at this point not say to all the listeners, get your pens and pencils ready as we dive into this. First things first. I mean, we've got listener questions as well. We've got just questions that we're gonna pile on you. But first things first, how did you end up to becoming the announcer at County? How did it all start?
Okay, Russ. Well, it was way back in the 70s. I was part of what they call the Stockport County Executive Association. That was a group of businessmen. I wasn't a businessman, but I was invited onto the group. And we used to meet once a month in the boardroom at Edgeley Park, obviously with the club's permission. The club secretary was there and the assistant secretary, Peter Lamb. And we discussed ways of trying to make money for the football club because, to put it bluntly, it was on its backside. So we'd sit round the table, we'd organise race nights, phone-a-thons, we'd write to local organisations asking for sort of donations, if you like, which was a bit futile, but we felt we had to do it. As I say, race nights, and it was all in an effort to raise some money to help the club along. I suppose you could say I've always been pretty vocal, not in a loud way, but I like to put my points across and I accept the points that other people made. One night, a Friday night, I turned up at Edgeley Park, a cold, dreary night, and the match announcer, I can't remember who it was. I think it could have been Vince Miller, the Stockport compere. When I say compere, he lives in Stockport. He, for some reason, couldn't make it. He'd been doing it, filling in really, and he couldn't make it. And I went in to see the Assistant Secretary, Peter Lamb, and he said, "Oh, just a fellow," he said, "Vince can't make it." I'm sure it was Vince Miller. He said, "Vince can't make it. Could you do the tannoy tonight?" He said, "You're pretty good at talking and putting yourself across to people." I said, "Well, I'll give it a go, Peter." Yeah. So he thrust in my hands a tape recorder with a tape in it and a microphone and showed me upstairs to the back of the Dana Bagara stand where there was a three-sided glass box. The back faced onto Hardcastle Road, and I sat in there. He plugged it in. He said, "It's all yours." He said, "Oh, you'll need the telephone as well." So he gave me the telephone, and that was it, Russ, to be honest with you. The job was mine from there on in.
What was the telephone for?
Well, of course, we're now living in 2024. In those days, at 7:30 when the game kicked off, I was the only link into the outside world. There was no ground control, there was nothing, no radios. So I got the phone. If there'd been an emergency, then there never was one. I think it was down to me to dial 999 and get some police assistance. There were officers on at the ground in those days. But the important thing with the phone, and it was a fantastic thing to be honest with you, I took phone calls from all over the world because there was no internet, there was no BBC CFAX, so the only way to learn about what your team was doing was to make a phone call to the club. 480-8888 was the number.
Brilliant.
And the phone would ring, I'd pick the phone up, Stockport County. Yeah, it's Joe Smith from, I'm in Cyprus, I'm in the army, how are we doing?
Oh, right.
And I must say, I wish I could reconnect with her. There was a little girl who used to phone me every Friday night when we were at home, with her father stood next to her, and she was from Leighton Orient. And she was only about 10, and she said, oh, please could you tell me the score? And I'd give her the current score, and say a quick hello to her dad, and then off they go, and that would be it. She used to phone every home game for maybe the half time or as near to half time. But with that phone, I spoke to people all over the world. I wouldn't say as far as Australia, but certainly Cyprus was favourite because of the forces and the soldiers who were stationed there.
Wow.
And there was other people who'd phone up from much closer home as well, because you'd no access to half-time scores or the current score.
So would you not have newspapers phoning you or broadcasters or anything like that?
No, we did have newspapers there. The Stockport Express were represented in those days, and you might have had somebody from the Manchester Evening News.
Right.
Certainly we were represented by the Stockport Express, but we were a 4th Division team playing Darlington on a cold wind Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I doubt they would send somebody down from Darlington. They'd get a copy from the Express and mix it around to suit them.
Yeah, excellent stuff.
Sorry that sort of goes on, but that
that's
is the background to it.
That's why we're here, Kenny. That's why we're here. It's these
I
stories.
just got stuck with the job then. It was just given that it was me.
Can you remember exactly what year that was then? Or are we
1982, I would say, I started.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And were you a county fan before that?
Yes.
Yeah, so you've always been a county fan, grown up in Stockport or?
Yes, I grew up in Stockport. I'm a Heaton Moor lad. But my passion was lacrosse.
Oh, right, yeah.
I played lacrosse for many years for Heaton Mersey. So, although county played on a Friday night, football didn't really come into my remit, to be truthful. But then my lacrosse career was slowing down a little bit. I was getting hit too many times and it was taking longer to recover. So I started off on the railway sleepers as a paying customer, paying fan. Then I went to the pop side, and then eventually, after a couple of seasons pop side, I bought a season ticket in East Stand as was, and that's how it started.
Right. So you said the East Stand then?
E Block.
E Block. I was going to say, because
yeah.
East Stand would be Chip Railway, and wouldn't it, as you look down on it? But we've never called it the East Stand. It's always been the Railway End.
Railway End. No, it was E Block.
Right.
Right next to the Players' Tunnel.
Right.
Was my.
Okay, so moving on to your first game announcing then, what was that like? And were you nervous? I mean, did you have something prepared, or did you already know what to say? Because your what would you call it? Your repertoire now is very well known and well loved. You know, you've been going since before I was born. Well, not before I was born, but I've known you throughout my whole county going career. So yeah, going back to it, were you nervous? What did you have to have something prepared, or?
I was very nervous, to be truthful. I didn't know what to expect. I'd always felt that there was an old gentleman who used to do the tannoy. Vince only covered it, I think, whether the chap was ill. Harold, I think he was called. And it wasn't, in my mind, it wasn't very good. He didn't project any sort of image. Don't want to be too critical of the chap at all. And I just, well, there's nothing I could do. I got the teams to read out. I read them out, answered the telephone when needed, and slowly but surely, I sort of put my own stamp on it and my own personality onto it, and it just carried on. It was just a given that Kenny Boxshall was the stadium announcer.
Right. And that's where we are still. Brilliant.
For 42 years.
42 years, brilliant. We'll come to a bit more of that later.
Okay.
Do you have, I mean, we'll dive straight into this. Do you have any memorable mix-ups, like announcing the wrong player or getting your words mixed up? Thanks for watching. If you want to watch the rest of the video, head over to our Patreon. The link is in the description, and sign up for £3 a month. You get the full episode, you get the other full episodes of our special guests, plus everything ad-free, twice per week in your inbox. It's well worth it, and it's cheaper than a pint. Thanks for watching again. We really do appreciate it. A lot of hard work goes into these podcasts, and hopefully that's coming through. So yeah, please do. Cheers. Thank you.